Hello, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the pool party. I hope you can swim because we're definitely diving into the deep end with a huge splash of truth, facts, evidence, information, and proof. Swim. Say what you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen, how we hear, how we speak, how we hear what we're listening to when we speak, how a listener hears what we're saying, if what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding, because after we get that understanding, how do we accept it? How we respond if it's not what we expect is paramount. Are you okay with the truth? Are you man, woman, human, or spiritual enough to accept the truth? Let's find out.
Let's do it.
Welcome to The Swimming Pool with your host, Travis Bridges.
Bam! Good morning and welcome to The Swimming Pool. SWYM. That is the acronym for swim. And thank you so much for joining me on this, what I will call impromptu morning. Friday morning to be exact. Not just any Friday morning. This is a Friday morning that's special to me for a lot of special reasons. And the primary reason is because I have a gig. What do you mean you have a gig? Well, I'm a musician. And as a musician, when we get gigs, it's a happy time. You know why? Because that means a little opportunity to show what we've been practicing and working on. And in most cases, that means we get, increase. So we make a little change, we make connections, and we get to express ourselves. As a musician, there's nothing like being able to share your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, either through your song, your voice, your instrument. In my case, I know for me, the more intense life is for me, the more I express that through my music. So when I pick up my horn and I start to play, if I've had a few days, a few weeks, a few months of sadness, somehow or another, the universe converts that into passion. And I'm able to play with such deep emotions and feelings. And I'm just going to tell you, the last few months, the last few weeks, the last few days, and even the last 48 hours or so have all been extremely intense for me. So tonight is a special night for a lot of reasons. And I won't get into it. But I do have no guest. And I wanted to have a guest, but there was something that just kept saying, do this one on your own. 99% of the time I'll do a live stream. It has nothing to do with me, and that's the truth. However, this particular one is directly related to the season I'm in right now that I've been in pretty much all of my life, but coming to what we call a culmination. So at this point in time, I just want to do my own privacy and share my thoughts with how I'm feeling. Good morning, Sandra. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And everyone else that will join me this morning, as well as whenever you get an opportunity to watch this. I like YouTube and even Rumble, some of the other platforms where you can post stuff even long after you're gone or no longer broadcasting or podcasting, that people can go back and hear your stuff and see it and know where you are at that specific and particular time. So with that being said, I'm going to try to get into it. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And there are many times I will do a video and just upload it. But because of time today, I have a lot to get done today. I just wanted to go live and share my point and just express myself. Again, this is therapy for me. I do have a therapist and I do have an upcoming appointment with my therapist. I'm excited about that particular one. But this is called self-therapy. This is whenever I'm able to hear myself and express myself with or without an audience. Again, I wanted a guest today, but I just didn't work out that way. So with that being said, I'm going to try to move on. And I wished I had a coach sometimes, or a whole TV production crew, a camera crew, and a producer and editors and stuff that could help me when I get stuck. But this what makes it unique for me. I just come with what I have. So the title of this particular live stream is Truth and Logic, my feelings and my thoughts, views and stuff. We're all people. We have our thoughts and our feelings, and we're entitled to that. I can feel a certain way, or I can think a certain thing, and I'm entitled to that. We have that. It's a gift from God himself. We have intuition and discernment. All of those things, they help us to live. However, those are for us, and those are personal. When we interact with other people or in society, we have to take into consideration what's already established, in addition to how we feel and what we think, or even what we believe. Now, I was talking to one of my friends about this just a few minutes ago, got a short call out of nowhere, and I was talking about this may apply to everything except religion, because what we believe is not necessarily always the truth. And I know that religion in particular, I know that, I was raised in a Christian environment. I practice Christian values even to this very moment. And I know it's all faith-based. I know that people have shown things that says, well, God ain't real and Jesus never existed and all these other things. That's fine. I'm not going to even try to get into that. I just believe in, the Christian values that I subscribe to. And sure, someone may be able to show me something that may prove something different, and that's fine. I'm not going to knock what anyone else can come up with. But me in particular, I just choose to believe that. So that's why I'm excluding religion in particular as it relates to what we feel, think, and believe. However, as it relates to life in general, society, relationships with our family and friends, it's important. Of course, I'll do that. Not to get sidetracked here. When we're in society, we have to not only consider how we think, what we feel, and what we believe, and the same doesn't necessarily apply as it may to religion itself. So with that being said, I want to get focused and get this done, because again, I do have a long day and I'm excited about my gig tonight. I have no idea how it's going to go. And I say this every time. Every time I have a gig that's kind of tough, I always say something to the effect of, Lord, if you get me through this. And they're all unique. And sure enough, the good Lord is always faithful. He gets me through it. And I say, oh, man, I said I wasn't going to doubt anymore. Not that I'm doubting, but there's a natural nervousness that comes with being in front of people with an instrument or just speaking. I know that, public speaking is one of the psychological toughest things, that people have to overcome. Well, imagine doing that with an instrument. Of course, I've been doing it for a long time, but there's still these little butterflies in my stomach, from the nervousness that just comes naturally. But with that being said, the top subject is truth and logic, what I feel and think. Sometimes truth and logic may not matter to certain people. But let me get on. I have 4 video clips, and I'm going to save the fourth one for after when I sign off. But I want to try to put this together in a small little package and present it. I guess this would be my version of TED Talk. They will already throw me off because I've got too many ahs and ums and pauses, and I'm getting sidetracked by even some of the posts here. But let me try to get going. First of all, I believe there's an answer to every question, and there's a solution to every problem. That's the truth. The only way you can get an answer to a question is if you ask, and if you're asking someone who's truthful and mean well And only way you can solve a problem is if you are willing to sit and talk about it. Now, I want to talk about logic. I want to do some definitions. This is going to be interesting. Lord, help me get through this. I want to give the definition of logic. Logic, based on this dictionary, says reasoning, conducted or assessed according to strict principles of validity. What I think that means is principles of something that has even been proven or has been accepted, or is that a standard? I will call that in my language a universal principle. It's just logic. Let's go to reasoning. The definition, it's a noun, the action of thinking about something in a logical, sensible way. So those words are kind of interchangeable in their own ways, logic and reasoning. So you heard the definition of each in the definition. So the word reason is in the definition of logic, and logic is in the definition of reasoning. And finally, comprehend or understand. I like comprehend because of some things I heard about understanding and or overstanding, but I won't get too technical. Comprehend, the definition, it's a verb, to grasp mentally, understand. There's that word again. It means to be able to reason, to logic, and to understand or comprehend. And you must be what I call a normal person, because it is a proven fact. Some people don't have all of their marbles. Some people's elevator don't always go all the way to the top. Some people have an egg short of a dozen, and that goes without saying. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about adults, smart, intelligent people who are open to logic and reasoning. So with that being said, I want to try to keep moving. I've got some notes here and over there and some notes up there and everywhere. And I have 3 clips. Like I said, I'm going to play those 3 clips and I want you to listen to them. And, they will help me to make my point. The truth, the law, and a lie. I found out the hard way some years ago that the truth and the law is not the same. And even in one of my favorite movies, Training Day, Denzel said, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And that's truth. You can have the truth in your heart, but if you can't prove it and you're in the court of law, you're in trouble. So that's what I learned about the truth in the law. The law can be presented in a way that it can make the truth look bad. And that's another story. Let me try to keep focusing. I can't even read my own notes. Lord help me. Okay, so I'm going to play this first clip and then I'm going to keep on moving. Remember, I'm going to play the final one at the end. But I want you to listen to this and then it'll help with where I'm eventually going, because I'm going somewhere, I promise. And let me see. I'm going to try to be out of here in about 40 minutes tops. So now let me look at my time so that I can be on. So 40 minutes, the clock starts now. So, okay, pay attention to what is about to say as it relates to communication, understanding, reasoning, and logic. Listen carefully to this clip because the others are going to be consistent with where I'm eventually going. Okay, on your mark, get set, and go.
You think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics.
Absolutely.
So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
Can men get
I
pregnant?
take care of many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
Can men get pregnant?
Again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I
agree.
think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
No, yes, no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding. This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you. You know, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert, and you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
This is
male
extraordinary.
female with
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
What you were talking about is biological.
You're not gonna
you were
answer my
saying
question, it sounds like to me.
Biological males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
Again, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and push.
I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm trying to ask, I think it is extraordinary that we are here in a hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men.
It also,
We are here about the safety of women and science that shows that this abortion drug causes adverse health events in 11% of cases. That's 22 times greater than the FDA label, another fact you haven't acknowledged. And yet you won't even acknowledge the basic reality that biological men don't get pregnant. There's a difference between biological men and biological women. I don't know how we can take you seriously and your claims to be a person of science if you won't level with this on this basic issue. I thought we were past all of this, frankly. I can't believe we're still here talking about this.
I am a person of science, and I'm also someone here who's here to represent the complex experiences of my patients, and I don't think polarized language or questions serve that goal. I don't think they serve the American people.
It is not polarizing
They
to say
are
that there
not-
is a scientific difference between men and women. And I want this to be clear and for the record. It is not polarizing to say that women are a biological reality and should be treated and protected as such. That is not polarizing, that is truth. It is also, by the way, the United States Constitution, which offers unique protections to women in a variety of circumstances as women. And your refusal to recognize women as women and men as men is deeply corrosive to science, to public trust, and yes, to constitutional protections for women as women. And I think it's extraordinary that you would sit here and advance a political agenda that has been thoroughly discredited and rejected by the American people in this forum. And I'm glad we had this exchange because it is exceptionally clarifying. It is also in many ways quite depressing.
Quite depressing is how he described that. Now, I don't know if you saw and heard what I saw and heard, but clearly there was a woman who was being difficult is the only word I can come up with. The man was asking a simple and basic question because clearly he wanted to make a point, something that would prove what he was trying to say. But what he was not getting was respect and cooperation from the person he was communicating with. And that's part of where I'm trying to eventually go with what I'm experiencing and what I've experienced my almost entire life. I've tried to find a place of reasoning and logic and trying to live with that. But again, if you witness what I just witnessed, maybe you don't think she was being difficult. And if you don't, okay, fine. But to me personally, she wouldn't answer the question and she wouldn't allow the person to make the point they wanted to make because somewhere in her mind, she had decided that what she felt, what she thought, and what she believed and the point she wanted to make was more important than reasoning, logic, and basic comprehension. And that's what we deal with sometimes in society in general. People have their own agendas, their own mind. And no matter how you sit to try to talk to find the answer to tough questions or the solution to tough problems, when you deal with those types of personalities, you have to just know when to stop. And that was, as he said, was depressing. So what I'm going to do is move on to the next one because I want to stay on time and on point. This is another video that will help me to get where I'm going. So if you're ready, we're coming in 3, 2, 1.
There are no words that you can speak that can reach someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. Some people don't listen to understand, they listen to confirm the story they've already decided. You can explain yourself clearly, calmly, honestly, emotionally, but they'll still twist your intentions into something that fits their narrative. So trying to win over someone who's invested in misreading you is like emotional quicksand. It's like banging your head against a wall. The harder you try, the deeper you're gonna sink, and in the end, you will lose your trust, your self-respect, and your whole sense of reality, all in an effort to satisfy someone who never really wanted to meet you halfway.
Now, I'm going to play that one again on purpose because I kind of want to stop it. And as much as I can think for myself, as much time as I spend on social media, and I'm not going to admit that publicly because I'm trying to minimize that. Sometimes I see things that really help me, and that's when I use them as tools as now. But I'm going to play this guy again because I want to pause what he's saying just to try to make a point, and it will help me with where I'm going eventually. So let's listen to him one more time. If I can. Oh, come on. Don't tell me I can't play this video. No way. Do I have to do this first?
There are no words that you can speak that can reach someone who is committed to misunderstanding you.
There are no words you can speak that can reach someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. That's part of the point I want to make. When someone has something inside their head, in their mind that they want to believe, you can show the proof. You can have all the examples you need. But when a mind is made up, you can't do anything to change someone who wants to believe what they want to believe. I don't care how much you beat your head against the wall. I don't think I'm going to stop it anymore. Well, maybe one more time. But that point alone speaks to where I'm eventually going about reasoning, logic, and trying to communicate. And again, if people in general, or, if there's no chaos, then if two people are walking together, there is no disagreement, there is no misunderstanding, there is no chaos. But in times of chaos, it's important to listen, hear, pay attention. And I talk about that all the time. It's important to listen, hear, pay attention, and use the information you get to help you to come to a sensible and reasonable and even logical conclusion when you're trying to solve a problem or to answer a question, because it's not difficult. Again, that man in the other video, he was asking basic questions and all he needed was respect and cooperation. He got none of that. And although he couldn't solve the point he wanted to make, it kind of sort of spoke for itself. But let me try to keep going.
Some people don't listen to understand, they listen to confirm the story they've already decided.
Exactly. When you're communicating with someone and they've already decided what they want to think or believe, no matter what you say, and the moment they hear a little key word that supports what they want to believe, an aha moment, it's like, but no, that's not what I said. Definitely not what I meant. It happens. I have brothers and sisters and I try to talk to them all the time. And sometimes I'll get into one of those things where it's like, well, their mind is made up. And I don't want to act like I'm the greatest one here, but I do want to speak for myself in saying that I work every day at trying to keep my flesh under control, and once you point out something to me that's sensible, logical, and reasonable, I don't care how I feel about it. I'm going to go with what solves the problem, because that's the kind of team player I am. Again, I'm going to talk about my brothers and sisters in particular. I can do that because we're family. But, I want to also spread this around relationships in general, but particularly amongst significant others, husbands and wives, and then groups too. You have political groups that have the same issues. They won't listen at all because their mind is already made up. But let me try to keep going.
You can explain yourself clearly, calmly, honestly, emotionally, but they'll still twist your intentions into something that fits their narrative. So trying to win over someone who's invested in misreading you is like emotional quicksand. It's like banging your head against a wall. The harder you try, the deeper you're gonna sink, and in the end, you will lose your trust, your self-respect, and your whole sense of reality, all in an effort to satisfy someone who never really wanted to meet you halfway.
And you will also lose your not just your sanity, but your peace. You find yourself going back and forth in those situations, and it's like, wait a minute, I just said that. We've already discussed that. Again, I'm going to talk about my brother real quick. Well, no, I won't talk about. All this is going to be general. But when you're talking, to someone, and they're convinced that they're not going to accept the truth because it's coming from you, it's just a tough place to be. But I'm going to go on for the sake of time and get to my third video, and then I'm going to try to make some other points and then close with the fourth one after I log off here. But listen to this one. And this happened to me. I got this the other day. This was one of the best things. And I was going to do a live stream on just this one alone. But listen to this guy. And I'm going to actually go through all of these again just for because I have the time. Well, maybe I don't. But listen to this third one. Okay, check it out. In 3, 2.
Today I read this quote that said, "To offend a strong person, tell them a lie. To offend a weak person, tell them the truth." Huh. Yeah, I like that.
I listened to that on repeat the other day about 99 times. I know I did. And if you really break that down, the psychology behind what he's saying, really, you can see it everywhere. And once your eyes are open to this, you can't unhear it or unsee it, because you see it in every situation there is. You ever see someone in public and they have their mind made up, and no matter how you try to present anything, they're just not going to listen, because the truth really does hurt. I don't understand why. The truth should feel good. And people say, well, tell me the truth. And then in one of the movies said, you can't handle the truth. But why not? Why not be okay with the truth? Why insist on just having it your way? I don't know, and I don't want to know. But I want to break that down for a moment. To offend a strong person, tell them a lie. I'm going to claim to be this strong person maybe he's talking about. I don't like lies. And when I hear the truth, I get excited about it regardless of how I feel about it. But you ever noticed, weak people, if you tell them the truth, they become offended with the truth? How can you be upset or mad about something that's truth, especially if it's factual, where you can prove it and the evidence is right there? Why are you going to be mad? Because your behind is weak-minded. That's why. And why would you be offended with a lie? Because you're truthful. If you try to do the right thing and someone tells you a lie, or someone comes with some frackanacko bull, or they're trying to scheme or play games and you can read right through it and you see it, it's offensive. It's offensive when, again, let me talk about maybe my sister this time. No, maybe not. I'm talking about my cousin, my first cousin. My first cousin will come up with a little scheme already plotted inside their head, and they'll bring this and they'll present it to me and say, okay. And then I say to myself, well, what about this? Well, don't worry about that. Well, no, I can't not worry about that. That's you're misleading me. You're trying to, what is the word I'm looking for? Come on, a famous popular word. You're trying to trick me. You're trying to fool me. Don't play with me. talk sensible and logical. Say what you mean what you say. Anyway, I wanna play the second one again, and then I'm gonna move on to my close, for whatever, for lack of a better word. I want to play this guy one more time. Or is it the third one? Yeah, him. Let's just listen to this one more time.
There are no words that you can speak that can reach someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. Some people don't listen to understand, they listen to confirm the story they've already decided. You can explain yourself clearly, calmly, honestly, emotionally, but they'll still twist your intentions into something that fits their narrative. So trying to win over someone who's invested in misreading you is it's like emotional quicksand. It's like banging your head against a wall. The harder you try, the deeper you're gonna sink, and in the end, you will lose your trust, your self-respect, and your whole sense of reality, all in an effort to satisfy someone who never really wanted to meet you halfway.
And with that being said, I'm going to try to make my close and go on, because I've been practicing for a few days, not like I should. And I just hope that God is just with me on this evening, because I'm going to try to give the people what they're expecting and what they're actually paying me for and what I was created to do. So I'm excited about that. But anyway, let me try to go on. Why am I doing this? Because I really have no one else to talk to. It seems like everyone I talk to is freaking crazy. It's like, what? Are you serious? Everybody, it seems. And you know how they say, if everyone else is telling you the same thing, maybe it's you. I'm just going to go ahead and throw my hands up and say, it's me. I'm the bad guy. I'm the guy who can't reason. I can't logic. I can't think logically, and I can't comprehend or understand. I'm just going to go ahead and take the responsibility. But God knows I try. Red is red, blue is blue, left is left, right is right. It's like, my God, why? If I'm on a trip with someone and we decide before we go on the trip, okay, when we get to the third stop sign, we're going to turn right. Okay? Now, the other person is driving. We get to the third stop sign and they turn left. And then we end up in a ditch. And I say, well, what happened? We just decided that we were going to turn right. Well, why did you turn left? Well, because I saw some other cars turning, or because I forgot. Whatever excuse they come up with does not make sense for what we agreed to, what we planned, what was logical, sensible, reasonable, and that made sense. Left is for SUVs. We're driving a Mercedes sedan, and we were supposed to turn right, not only because it's the right direction, but it's what we agreed on. Now we're in a ditch, and all you want to say is, well, I'm sorry, or I forgot, or what happened was. And then there's no consequences. You don't have to pay for the tow truck. You don't have to replace the tire, the rim, and the rotors, and the whole front end alignment. You don't have to do that. Guess who has to do it? I do, because it's my car. I let you drive. We agreed that we were going to turn right, and you go left, and here we are in the ditch. Nothing happens to you because, you have nothing or very little invested. I'm talking to my brother right now, and my first cousin, and my next door neighbor's best friend's uncle's sister. That's who I'm talking to right now. So with that being said, again, I'm going to play this last one as I go. But the whole point I want to make is this. Stop being selfish. Stop being greedy. Stop being so focus driven on your emotions and your feelings. I like to use this as an example, and if you follow my podcast, you know this about me. I hate to work out. I hate to get up out of my warm bed in the morning. And I don't do it because I like it. I do it because I've determined that it's the best thing for me. And those calluses on my mind and my discipline, they help me to be a better person overall. So I do those things that I don't want to do or don't feel like doing so that I can be better at things just in general. So if you don't like something, don't not do it just because you don't like it. Because you don't trusted or whatever, don't not do the right thing just because of how you feel alone. Right is right, left is left. I want to say wrong. Right is right, wrong is wrong. But there's no wrong or right. There's no good or bad either. But logic and reasoning, you just can't get past it. So if you can, when you're talking to your brother or your sister or your neighbor or your coworker or your political group or whatever, or your significant other, listen to what someone has to say. Pay attention. If you're thinking one thing and someone pours their heart out to you and explain, and it proves that it's not what you're thinking, why are you going to be I want to say stupid. Why you want to be stubborn and go against logic, reason, and sensible? Do you know how much time you waste? Do you know how much trust you default? Do you know how much respect you lose from people when you're just difficult? Think about that lady in the beginning. I don't know who her patients are because, she was a doctor of some sort. But anybody watching that, again, not to mash her in because there are different people who do the same thing. But you can't think the same about a person when you see them go through that kind of difficulty and think that they are logical. This man said, it's sad. It's she's representing, the public as a professional, and she couldn't even humble herself enough to say, no, men can't get pregnant. She had to prove her point because of what she believed, what she thought, and what she felt, and the agenda she had long before she went into that meeting. She was just not going to cooperate. And it was sad to hear. It was sad to watch. And it happens every day. And when I talked about people not having their elevator going to the top, or their eggs short of a dozen or something like that, that does exist. And I'm going to make my point and I'm going to close. When we encounter this situation, especially with our family members or people that we've worked with for a long time, or our spouse or significant other, we look at how much time we've invested or how we feel about that person or that organization or that relationship, and we continue to go down that path and tolerate that bull crap. And before you know it, we're sick, we're mad, we're frustrated because we're beating our head against the wall with someone whose elevator doesn't go to the top. Clearly, that lady didn't even have a door to the elevator. And I'm not, again, trying to knock her. It's just, that could have been anyone. And there are plenty of examples, and I'll come up with some more. But here's my point in closing, because I've got just about 6 more minutes to go. At some point in time, you must know when to get off the bus that's heading in the wrong direction. I don't care how much time is left on your card, how long you've been on the bus, or what's out there on the streets when you get off. At a certain point in time, if you don't want to lose yourself, you have to get off that bus, because logic and reasoning have those definitions for a meaning. And of course, we could all be wrong. I don't like use wrong and right. We can be illogical or unreasonable. And you have to know when we're being illogical or unreasonable. And you can be one short. You can have one egg short of a whole dozen and still know when, okay, he or she, they're making a good point. I know what I want to happen, but what they're saying is right. I've got to humble and discipline myself to do not just the right thing, but the best thing for this association, for this relationship, for this group, for this political affiliation. I really want to stay general. We have to know when to say when and get out of our own emotions and our own feelings so that we can have peace, not just with ourselves. Because when we get away with the dirt we try to pull, we don't sleep well. We have a temporary satisfaction of what we wanted, but we know that we left the other person scarred because we wanted to have our way and we got our way. The truth is, you know that saying that says you win the battle, but you lose the war, or however it goes. You might win then, but eventually karma itself will find its way to your door or my door, any of us. We really have to know when to stop, please. With that being said, thank you for joining me. I'm going to play this last video after my closing, and then I'll see you another day. Do me a favor, wish me well tonight. So I'm going to close, and then I'm going to play the final video. So stay with me. But tonight I've got an unusual event and I'm excited about it. I normally dress up, but I'm kind of even going to dress down on this particular one. And I'm going to do what, my mother always say. She would always say, play, son, play to the glory of God. And I play to the glory of God no matter where I am or what song I'm playing. I empty my heart and soul. There was a couple songs I had to brush up on that I'm going to try to get through. Maybe even a new one that I might try, depending on the audience. But I'm excited about tonight in particular because sometimes events can mark certain moments in your life. And this event is going to signify new direction for me. And if I get through this and you see me back on a live stream like on another day, you will know that I have passed an amazing test. I've been going through some tough, trying times, and I've been strong in the face of all of that adversity. And I think at this point in time, it was a painful lesson, and I'm excited about, the future and where I'm going and how I'm going to get there and the wonderful things that God has in store for me, for my loyalty and my commitment to not just things and people, but to what I believe are universal principles, what are social norms and reasonable expectations, and even the law. So, with that being said, find someone you need to say I love you to. Don't just say it, show it, mean it. Let it be true. And even if it is true, don't worry about who doesn't like, who doesn't feel good, or someone who doesn't believe the truth. It doesn't matter. It's not your job to convince someone of the truth. When you put a seed in the ground in good soil and you water it and give it good sunlight, it's going to grow. The same way with the truth. When you speak the truth, if someone doesn't accept it or don't believe it, it's not your problem. Okay? All right, I'm going to get at you on another day and time. And remember, the last video is coming after the closing. Ciao.
SWYM. Say what you mean. As much as this information is designed to bring awareness to how we listen, hear, and process, it is also a form of therapy. The little person inside of all of us needs to be heard. As adults, even listening to ourselves is a form of healing, strengthening, and growth. It's okay to speak, talk, express yourself, and be heard, even if you're the only listener. If our testimony does anything at all for anyone else, that makes the continued effort worth the time. Get the words out. You'll feel better, and that's a promise. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Sometimes it seems like all the good times are gone, but you got to keep on searching. You got to keep on keeping on. Keep on keeping on. For example, take me standing right here today. I would not be here with you if I believed the things that the people say. You got to keep on searching. Keep on searching. Keep it on the cool side. Keep it on the cool side. Keep on looking around.
Imagine that. Imagine you had that one wish where you can take any relationship that you have right now and make it better with a snap of the finger, right? I want this relationship that is bad, that is horrible right now, snap my fingers, and it's instantaneously better, and that person is gone. And you say, well, why are they gone? I wanted it better. It is better. The only way you can make it better is by separating yourself. In this situation, that was the only way, because that person didn't want to conform. They didn't want to meet you halfway. They didn't want to comply. They didn't want to change certain qualities about themselves, certain ways about themselves to gain you. It's almost like the animal kingdom. Same thing. It's like a gazelle asking a lion, how could we come to an agreement? And a lion would probably think for a little bit and say, just keep letting me devour you. Just keep allowing me to eat you, rip you apart. Allow that, and we can continue our relationship. I'll be dead. And that's the same way with humans. I'll be dead. I'll be destroyed. Certain people is just no mending, because they got to see that they're doing something wrong. And if they don't see that, how can you come together and make this thing work? How? That's what the lion said. I ain't got a problem. I need to eat. I got to feed the pride. The problem is that you sometimes run too fast. Won't let me catch you easily, right? Sometimes you get away. That's the problem. Imagine reasoning with somebody like that. You just won't let me do what I want to do and act the way I want to act. You're the problem. There's no fixing that. You got to separate. So when you snap the finger, they no longer exist. That's the way it had to be. Love.